The jar stood roughly 5 inches tall and was sealed with a thick layer of asphalt, giving no indication of the revolutionary technology contained within. When researchers carefully opened the ancient vessel, they discovered something that shouldn't have existed for another 18 centuries. Inside the clay container was a meticulously constructed copper cylinder surrounding an iron rod, with traces of an acidic substance that had once filled the vessel. Chemical analysis revealed the acidic material was most likely vinegar or fermented wine, creating the exact configuration of a modern galvanic battery. When a curious researcher recognized this arrangement and decided to test his theory, he constructed a replica using only materials that would have been available to ancient Mesopotamian craftsmen. He filled the reproduction with grape juice to serve as the electrolyte and measured the electrical output. The results were extraordinary. The ancient jar produced a steady electrical current of approximately 1 to 2 volts, proving beyond doubt that it was a functional electrical device created over 1800 years before Alessandro Volta would supposedly invent the first battery in 1800. This wasn't just a coincidental resemblance to modern technology. It was a deliberately manufactured electrical generator built to specific standards for particular purposes. The implications became even more staggering when researchers began asking what ancient civilizations might have used these batteries to power. Ancient texts from the same region contain intriguing references to divine lights that burned without flame in temple sanctuaries. These mysterious illumination sources were described as eternal flames that required no fuel and produced no smoke, characteristics that align perfectly with electric lighting systems. Archaeological examination of metal artifacts from the same time period revealed evidence of electroplating, a sophisticated process that requires sustained electrical current to deposit thin layers of precious metals onto base metal objects. The precision and quality of these electroplated items suggests systematic use of electrical technology rather than accidental discoveries or isolated experiments. Multiple similar devices have been found throughout the region, all following identical design principles and construction methods. The consistency of manufacture suggests these weren't random creations or fortunate accidents. They were deliberately produced electrical devices built according to established technical specifications, indicating widespread knowledge of electrical generation principles. Despite overwhelming physical evidence, mainstream archaeology has struggled to acknowledge what these artifacts truly represent. The official position maintains that the clay jars were designed to store papyrus scrolls, despite the copper cylinders being completely sealed and utterly unsuitable for document preservation. This explanation conveniently ignores the electrical functionality that can be demonstrated and measured using the actual artifacts. When researchers have proposed analyzing residue within the vessels for evidence of electrochemical reactions, their requests have been systematically rejected or delayed indefinitely. The few scientists who have attempted serious investigation of these ancient batteries have encountered institutional resistance that blocks their research and prevents publication of their findings. Most disturbing of all, many of the original artifacts have mysteriously vanished. The most complete specimens that could have definitively proven the battery hypothesis were housed in museums that suffered damage during regional conflicts. The physical evidence that could have rewritten our understanding of ancient electrical technology has been permanently lost, leaving only photographs and incomplete documentation. Our second impossible artifact demonstrates precision manufacturing capabilities that modern engineers struggle to replicate, even with advanced equipment. Scattered throughout ancient Egyptian archaeological sites are stone objects displaying drilling techniques that challenge every assumption about primitive tool capabilities. These aren't crude holes laboriously carved with bronze implements over extended periods. They're precision-engineered drill holes in granite, one of the hardest substances on Earth, showing evidence of high-speed machining and cutting rates that exceed what should be possible with ancient metalworking technology. The most compelling evidence comes from cylindrical core samples that were extracted when the original holes were drilled. These granite cores show distinctive spiral grooves with remarkably consistent spacing, indicating that ancient drills advanced into solid stone at approximately 1 inch per revolution. This feed rate would be impressive even with modern diamond-tip drilling equipment powered by industrial machinery. Engineers who have examined these ancient cores note characteristics that can only be produced by mechanical drilling at consistent speed and pressure. Hand-operated tools invariably produce irregular groove patterns because human operators cannot maintain perfectly steady force and rotation speed throughout the drilling process. The ancient cores show no such variation, displaying spiral grooves as regular and precise as those produced by contemporary machine tools. The drill holes themselves maintain perfect circular geometry and consistent diameter throughout their entire depth. Any wobble or misalignment in the drilling process would cause holes to gradually widen or develop oval shapes. The ancient holes display none of these defects, remaining as precisely aligned and geometrically perfect as holes produced by modern industrial drilling equipment. What makes these achievements particularly remarkable is the extreme hardness of granite on the Mohs scale of mineral hardness. Granite rates between 6 and 7, while copper and bronze tools available to ancient Egyptian craftsmen rate only 3 to 4 on the same scale. According to fundamental principles of material science, it's impossible to cut materials using tools that are softer than the material being worked. The standard archaeological explanation suggests ancient craftsmen used copper tools with sand as an abrasive agent to gradually wear away granite through prolonged effort. However, experimental attempts to replicate ancient drilling using this proposed method have consistently failed to achieve comparable results. Modern researchers working with copper tools and sand abrasives manage feed rates of only a few millimeters per revolution, while ancient cores demonstrate feed rates more than 10 times faster. Detailed analysis reveals another troubling characteristic that defies explanation using primitive tool theories. The spiral grooves cut equally deep through both quartz and feldspar crystals within the granite, despite these minerals having significantly different hardness levels. Hand drilling would naturally cut through softer feldspar more quickly, creating uneven groove depths throughout the drilling process. The ancient grooves maintain perfectly uniform depth regardless of mineral composition, suggesting cutting processes that worked equally effectively on materials of varying hardness. This characteristic is typical of modern diamond-tip drilling technology, but diamond cutting tools weren't available to ancient Egyptian craftsmen. Contemporary stoneworkers who examine these ancient drill holes admit they would struggle to replicate such precision even with modern equipment, computerized positioning systems, and diamond cutting implements. The evidence extends beyond individual drill holes to encompass entire stone structures, displaying manufacturing precision that challenges fundamental assumptions about ancient capabilities. Temple blocks weighing multiple tons show surface finishes approaching optical quality, with flatness measurements that rival modern precision machining standards. Joint tolerances between massive stone blocks are measured in fractions of millimeters, tighter than many contemporary construction projects achieve, using advanced surveying equipment and precision cutting tools. These aren't isolated examples that might be explained by exceptional skill or fortunate circumstances. The precision appears consistently across multiple sites, different time periods, and various ancient civilizations. Our third impossible artifact takes us to South African mining operations, where workers have discovered metallic spheres embedded in rock formations dated to 2.8 billion years ago. This places their creation during a time when Earth's atmosphere lacked oxygen and only primitive bacterial life existed on the planet. Complex multicellular organisms wouldn't evolve for another 2 billion years, and humans wouldn't appear for nearly 3 billion years more. Yet these spheres display characteristics that suggest artificial manufacture rather than natural geological formation, challenging every assumption about when intelligent life first appeared on Earth. The spheres measure between 1 and 4 inches in diameter, exhibiting perfectly spherical geometry with surface smoothness that suggests precision manufacturing techniques. Most remarkably, Several specimens display three parallel grooves running around their equatorial circumference with mathematical precision that defies natural explanation. These lines are perfectly spaced, absolutely parallel, and appear to have been machined rather than naturally formed through geological processes. When subjected to detailed scientific analysis, the spheres revealed composition that made natural formation theories impossible to maintain. The spheres were composed of a nickel-steel alloy, a metal combination that simply doesn't occur naturally in geological environments. Steel is fundamentally an artificial alloy, requiring deliberate smelting processes to combine iron with carbon in specific proportions, technologies that supposedly didn't exist until human industrial development. The geological context eliminates any possibility of recent origin or contamination. The spheres were embedded within solid rock formations dozens of feet below the surface in strata that had remained undisturbed for billions of years. Their presence when these rock layers were formed places their age at an almost incomprehensible 2.8 billion years. Museum curators cataloguing these artifacts note remarkably consistent dimensions and surface characteristics that natural geological processes cannot explain. Natural formation invariably produces variation and irregularity, while these spheres display uniformity, suggesting manufacture according to specific standards and tolerances. The parallel grooves present the greatest challenge to natural formation theories. Geological processes don't create precise, evenly spaced parallel lines with the geometric perfection observed on these objects. The mathematical precision and consistent spacing suggest deliberate design rather than random natural forces. The spheres also demonstrate extreme hardness, significantly exceeding that of surrounding rock matrix. Their metallic composition and hardness characteristics don't match any known mineral that could have formed through natural processes during the geological period in question. Mining operations continue discovering new specimens regularly, each one deepening the mystery and making natural explanations increasingly implausible. The combination of artificial alloy composition, precision geometry, and impossible age creates paradoxes that conventional geology cannot resolve through existing theoretical frameworks. These first three impossible artifacts establish a disturbing pattern that will become even more apparent as we examine the remaining 7 discoveries. Each object demonstrates capabilities that don't align with accepted timelines of technological development. They represent concrete physical evidence that can be measured, tested, and verified using modern analytical techniques. What makes these discoveries particularly significant is how academic institutions handle evidence that challenges established historical narratives. The artifacts aren't dismissed as hoaxes or denied to exist. They're acknowledged, documented, and often displayed in museums, but their implications are consistently minimized rather than thoroughly investigated. The pattern reveals institutional resistance to evidence that contradicts approved historical timelines. Physical proof that demonstrates advanced ancient capabilities faces systematic discouragement rather than open scientific inquiry. Some questions appear too dangerous to pursue because they might require fundamental revision of how we understand human technological development. Our fourth impossible artifact demonstrates computational sophistication that wouldn't be matched again for over 15 centuries. In 1901, sponge divers working near the Greek island of Antikythera recovered what appeared to be corroded bronze fragments from an ancient shipwreck. For decades, these pieces sat neglected in museum storage, dismissed as remnants of some simple navigational device. Then X-ray analysis revealed the extraordinary truth hidden within the corrosion. The bronze fragments contained an intricate mechanism of breathtaking complexity, featuring over 30 precisely cut gear wheels arranged in sophisticated mechanical assemblies. The gears were crafted with such finesse that individual teeth could barely be discerned without magnification. This wasn't a primitive device stumbled upon by accident. It was an analog computer capable of performing astronomical calculations with accuracy that modern science didn't achieve until the Renaissance period. The mechanism's purpose became clear as researchers decoded its revolutionary function. Users could turn a simple input crank, and the complex gear trains would compute positions of the Sun, Moon, and known planets for any given date. The device could predict solar and lunar eclipses years in advance, track the complicated lunar cycles used in ancient Greek calendars, and calculate dates of Olympic Games according to their 4-year schedule. What made the mechanism truly extraordinary wasn't just its computational ability, but the advanced engineering principles embedded throughout its construction. The gear ratios encoded sophisticated mathematical relationships that required deep understanding of planetary motion and celestial mechanics. The mechanical implementation required mastery of differential gearing techniques that historians insisted weren't developed until the 16th century. Creating gears with such fine teeth and exact ratios demands extremely sophisticated metalworking equipment and measurement techniques that supposedly didn't exist in the ancient world. The miniaturization alone represents remarkable achievement, with densely packed mechanical components arranged in space smaller than a modern laptop computer. Contemporary attempts to reconstruct the mechanism using tools available to ancient craftsmen have consistently failed to match the precision and sophistication of the original artifact. The gear teeth are cut with mathematical exactness that rivals modern manufacturing standards. Bearing surfaces remain smooth after 2 millennia, demonstrating metallurgical knowledge that created friction-resistant alloys. The overall assembly shows engineering sophistication that medieval European craftsmen would have considered impossibly advanced. Ancient Greek texts mention other mechanical devices and automated machines, suggesting the Antikythera mechanism might not represent an isolated achievement. It could simply be the only complex ancient computer that survived the passage of time, while countless others corroded into unrecognizable fragments or were melted down for their bronze content. The archaeological establishment treats this mechanism as a singular anomaly, an exceptional example of ancient ingenuity that doesn't represent broader technological capabilities. This interpretation conveniently avoids confronting possibilities that ancient civilizations achieved levels of sophistication challenging fundamental assumptions about historical progress. Our fifth impossible artifact presents geographical knowledge that predates supposed discovery by centuries. In 1929, scholars examining historical documents discovered a map created in 1513 by Ottoman naval commander Piri Reis that challenged everything historians believed about early exploration and cartographic accuracy. The admiral compiled his chart from approximately 20 older source maps, producing geographical accuracy that shouldn't have existed in the 16th century. The most controversial feature showed a southern continent matching Antarctica's coastline with remarkable precision, presenting an immediate chronological problem. Antarctica wouldn't be officially discovered until 1820, more than 3 centuries after the map was drawn. Even more impossibly, the chart depicted Antarctic coastlines as they would appear without ice coverage, revealing bays, inlets, and geographical features currently buried under thousands of feet of glacial accumulation. When modern researchers compared the Piri Reis map to contemporary surveys, they discovered extraordinary correspondence. The Antarctic coastline details matched current knowledge with startling accuracy, but the projection used unusual mathematical techniques requiring sophisticated understanding of spherical geometry and trigonometry. The accuracy extended far beyond Antarctica alone. The map showed the Mediterranean, North Africa, South America, and various Atlantic islands, with precision approaching modern cartographic standards. Relative positions of continents were correct, latitudes were accurate, and even small Caribbean islands were positioned with remarkable fidelity to their actual locations. What made this achievement impossible was the source material itself. Piri Reis's own notations indicated he compiled the map from ancient charts, some dating to the time of Alexander the Great. If these source maps contained accurate depictions of ice-free Antarctica, They must have been created during geological periods when the continent wasn't covered by glacial ice. Current geological evidence suggests Antarctica has been ice-covered for millions of years, but there may have been periods of partial ice-free conditions. If the source maps depicted Antarctica during such periods, they were created by civilizations capable of sophisticated maritime exploration, navigation, and cartographic surveying, at times when such capabilities supposedly didn't exist. The United States Air Force Hydrographic Office confirmed in the 1960s that the Piri Reis map showed Antarctic coastlines with accuracy comparable to modern surveys. They acknowledged having no explanation for how a 16th century chart could contain geographical information that wasn't officially discovered until the 20th century. Our sixth impossible artifact reveals acoustic engineering that demonstrates understanding of sound physics far beyond what ancient civilizations supposedly possessed. Hidden within ruins across multiple cultures are stone chambers carved with acoustic properties so sophisticated they wouldn't be duplicated until modern concert hall design emerged. These aren't accidental acoustic effects that happen to occur during construction. They're precisely engineered spaces that amplify specific frequencies, eliminate unwanted echoes, and create sound phenomena requiring deep understanding of wave physics and harmonic resonance principles. One extensively studied chamber consists entirely of limestone carved to create acoustic properties that baffle contemporary sound engineers. When researchers conducted tests within the space, they discovered the room resonates powerfully at exactly 110 Hz, a precise frequency that causes the entire chamber to vibrate perceptibly when that tone is produced. Modern acoustic engineers analyzing the chamber found its design shouldn't produce such effects according to established principles of sound behavior. The dimensions, angles, and surface treatments work together, creating acoustic phenomena that require sophisticated understanding of how sound waves interact with physical environments. Creating this response accidentally would be extraordinarily improbable. The specific frequency is particularly intriguing because neurological research shows 110 Hz affects brain activity in measurable ways, causing changes in brainwave patterns with increased activity in regions associated with emotional processing and altered consciousness states. Other chambers throughout the ancient world display different, but equally sophisticated properties. Some amplify whispered sounds, allowing quiet conversations to be heard clearly across large distances. Others eliminate echoes completely, creating acoustically dead spaces that modern recording studios struggle to achieve. Still others selectively amplify certain frequency ranges, while dampening others, providing natural sound filtering that requires complex engineering calculations to implement effectively. The precision of construction suggests acoustic properties were primary design considerations rather than fortunate accidents. Chamber walls are carved to exact smoothness specifications with angles cut to mathematical precision. Room dimensions follow specific proportions that optimize desired acoustic behaviors through deliberate design choices rather than random construction methods. Modern attempts to replicate these acoustic properties have consistently struggled to match ancient achievements. Engineers using computer modeling software and contemporary construction techniques find it difficult to recreate the sophisticated sound effects that ancient chambers produce naturally. Our seventh impossible artifact demonstrates precision crystal working that challenges modern gem-cutting techniques. Scattered across archaeological sites are quartz and crystal objects carved with accuracy that contemporary craftsmen struggle to replicate using advanced equipment and diamond-tipped tools. These aren't crude ceremonial objects roughly shaped for symbolic purposes. They're optically perfect lenses, precisely formed spheres, and mechanical components machined to tolerances measured in micrometers. The surfaces display finish quality approaching laboratory standards, completely free from tool marks or manufacturing defects. Quartz crystal presents particular manufacturing challenges because of its extreme hardness rating 7 on the Mohs scale. Working quartz effectively requires cutting tools exceeding the material's hardness, typically diamond-tipped implements operating at high rotational speeds with carefully controlled pressure and cooling systems. Modern analysis of ancient crystal artifacts reveals surface finishes polished to optical quality, displaying microscopic smoothness that eliminates light scattering and distortion. Achieving this precision requires specific polishing compounds, controlled pressure application, and finishing techniques supposedly not developed until modern precision manufacturing emerged. Crystal spheres present even greater manufacturing mysteries. Multiple ancient cultures created perfectly spherical quartz objects, demonstrating geometric precision that challenges contemporary manufacturing capabilities. Creating true spheres from hard crystal requires extremely precise material removal, with mathematical calculations ensuring uniform thickness and perfect sphericity. When subjected to precision measurement using coordinate measuring machines, ancient crystal spheres showed sphericity within tolerances approaching modern manufacturing standards. The objects deviate from perfect spherical geometry by margins so small they require sophisticated measurement equipment to detect variations. Perhaps most remarkable are crystal artifacts, displaying internal features, suggesting even more advanced manufacturing capabilities. Some objects contain carved internal channels and suspended geometric elements requiring selective material removal from within solid crystal blocks without damaging surrounding areas. The optical quality of certain ancient crystal objects rivals modern precision lenses. Crystal pieces show correct spherical curvature for light-focusing applications, with optical surfaces precisely shaped and polished to eliminate chromatic aberration and distortion effects. When tested under laboratory conditions, these artifacts demonstrate optical properties matching contemporary precision optics manufactured for scientific instruments. The manufacturing precision suggests ancient craftsmen possessed detailed knowledge of crystal structure and working properties that modern materials science is only beginning to fully understand. Our eighth impossible artifact reveals material science capabilities that surpass contemporary concrete technology. Roman structures built 2,000 years ago continue standing today while modern concrete buildings begin deteriorating within decades. The Romans created concrete formulations that actually grow stronger over time, especially in marine environments, displaying properties that modern engineers cannot replicate despite having access to advanced chemical analysis and controlled manufacturing processes. The most impressive examples are Roman harbour installations, piers and breakwaters that have withstood 2 millennia of seawater exposure while continuing to gain structural strength. Modern marine concrete typically begins showing degradation within decades of installation, yet Roman marine concrete has undergone ongoing chemical reactions that strengthen the material through mineral crystal formation. Microscopic examination reveals continuing chemical processes occurring over centuries. Seawater reacting with volcanic ash and lime components creates new crystalline structures that enhance material properties rather than causing deterioration. The reactions appear self-reinforcing, with each chemical cycle contributing to overall structural improvement rather than breakdown. Modern concrete represents precisely controlled chemistry with exact ingredient proportions and carefully monitored curing processes. Yet it remains fundamentally inferior to Roman concrete in terms of longevity and environmental resistance. Contemporary concrete develops stress cracks over time and degrades rapidly when exposed to saltwater environments that Roman concrete thrives in. The key to Roman concrete's superior properties lies in specific volcanic ash selection, particular lime types, and mineral aggregate combinations. This required sophisticated understanding of material chemistry and chemical reactions, suggesting extensive empirical research and systematic experimentation to develop optimal formulations over extended periods. Roman concrete production also offered significant environmental advantages over modern Portland cement manufacturing. The Roman process required lower firing temperatures, resulting in substantially reduced carbon emissions while producing superior material properties. Ancient Romans achieved better results using less energy and creating fewer environmental impacts, The loss of Roman concrete technology represents one of history's most significant technological regressions. For over a millennium following Rome's collapse, European builders couldn't create structures approaching Roman quality or longevity. Rediscovery of Roman concrete chemistry has occurred only through advanced analytical techniques, including electron microscopy and molecular-level chemical analysis. Our ninth impossible artifact suggests ancient civilizations possessed flight capabilities that conventional archaeology refuses to acknowledge. Pre-Columbian artifacts discovered throughout South America include small golden objects bearing striking resemblances to modern aircraft, rather than any known animal forms. These artifacts display streamlined fuselages, triangular wing configurations with upward angled tips, and vertical tail stabilizers positioned for directional control. When examined by aeronautical engineers, the objects demonstrate principles of aircraft design that optimize flight stability and control characteristics through specific geometric relationships. The objects were initially catalogued as zoomorphic art, representing stylized birds or insects. However, detailed analysis revealed they don't match anatomical features of any known flying creatures. Instead, they correspond precisely to aircraft design principles that enhance flight performance through proportional arrangements that serve specific aerodynamic functions. The wing positioning relative to center of gravity follows aerodynamic principles, providing flight stability. The triangular wing shape with upward angled tips creates dihedral angle effects that automatically correct flight disturbances. The vertical tail stabilizer placement provides directional control authority that would be essential for piloted flight. To test these observations, aeronautical engineers constructed scaled models following exact proportions of the ancient objects. Wind tunnel testing revealed excellent flight characteristics with stable, controllable behavior that exceeded expectations for such simple designs. The models demonstrated natural stability and responsive control that would be highly desirable in actual aircraft. Flight testing of powered scale models confirmed the aerodynamic effectiveness of the ancient designs. The models flew straight and stable with responsive control characteristics, making them easy to pilot. The ancient designs weren't merely sculptures that coincidentally resembled aircraft. They represented accurate depictions of functional flying machine configurations. The cultural context adds intriguing dimensions to these discoveries. Civilizations that created these objects maintained extensive mythologies describing flying vehicles and sky gods who traveled through the air. Ancient texts contain detailed descriptions of aerial vehicles that could transport people across great distances, with capabilities that sound remarkably similar to modern aircraft. Critics argue the resemblance to aircraft represents coincidental similarity rather than evidence of ancient flight technology. This explanation struggles with the specificity of aerodynamic features and the successful flight testing of scaled replicas. The dihedral wing angles, center of gravity positioning, and control surface arrangements each represent deliberate design choices that enhance flight performance. Our 10th and final impossible artifact takes us into the realm of nuclear physics, where natural processes achieved engineering sophistication that challenges our understanding of geological formation. Deep within African mining operations, workers discovered evidence of controlled nuclear reactions that occurred naturally 2 billion years ago. In 1972, scientists analyzing uranium ore samples found isotope ratios indicating nuclear fission had taken place under natural conditions long before complex life existed on Earth. Further investigation revealed something even more extraordinary. The reactor zones showed evidence of sophisticated design, with specific geometries and mineral distributions that optimize nuclear reactions while preventing dangerous criticality accidents. The discovery occurred during routine isotope analysis when technicians found uranium depleted in fissile uranium-235, the isotope consumed during nuclear chain reactions. Investigation revealed natural uranium concentrations, groundwater moderation, and geological arrangements had created conditions allowing sustained nuclear fission over hundreds of thousands of years. Geological study of reactor zones revealed remarkable optimization characteristics. The uranium ore bodies were arranged in configurations that sustained controlled reactions while maintaining safety margins, preventing runaway chain reactions. Surrounding rock formations contained neutron-absorbing minerals that regulated reaction rates automatically without external intervention. Most extraordinary were signs the reactors operated in self-regulating cycles. Nuclear reactions would continue until heat buildup evaporated groundwater, stopping the chain reaction. As temperatures cooled, water would return and reactions would restart. This cycling continued over geological timescales, maintaining controlled fission without any form of intelligent oversight. The geometry of reactor zones particularly impressed nuclear engineers. Uranium formations displayed specific shapes and spatial arrangements optimal for sustaining controlled nuclear reactions. Some zones were cylindrical, others showed layered configurations. Each arrangement was ideally suited for maintaining critical mass while preventing dangerous power excursions. Surrounding each reactor zone were mineral deposits serving specific nuclear engineering functions. Graphite formations acted as neutron reflectors, maintaining reaction efficiency. Boron-containing minerals absorbed excess neutrons, providing automatic reaction control. Clay layers created containment barriers, preventing radioactive material migration. The sophistication astonished nuclear engineers familiar with reactor design requirements. Creating functional nuclear reactors requires precise calculations of neutron physics, criticality margins, moderation effects, and control mechanisms. The natural formations achieved all these requirements through geological arrangements that appeared almost engineered for optimal nuclear performance. Some researchers have proposed the reactors weren't entirely natural phenomena, suggesting ancient civilizations deliberately constructed or modified geological formations to create controlled nuclear reaction zones. This explanation faces the insurmountable problem that the reactors operated 2 billion years ago, long before complex life existed on Earth. The alternative explanation that nature randomly created, optimized nuclear reactor geometries through purely geological processes seems equally improbable. The configurations display too much sophistication, and the control mechanisms appear too deliberately arranged for random formation through natural forces alone. Nuclear engineers who study these formations often express private doubts about purely natural explanations. The optimization appears too perfect, and the safety systems too sophisticated for accidental geological arrangement. The reactor zones demonstrate nuclear engineering principles that require deliberate design and careful calculation to implement successfully. These 10 artifacts share one undeniable characteristic that makes them particularly troubling for conventional archaeology. They don't represent ambiguous findings that could be interpreted multiple ways or explained through creative theoretical frameworks. They demonstrate specific technological capabilities that can be measured, tested, and verified using modern analytical techniques. The ancient battery produces measurable electrical current. The precision drilling shows quantifiable machining accuracy. The acoustic chambers create sophisticated sound effects. The crystal artifacts display optical precision. The concrete demonstrates superior material properties. Each proves ancient civilizations possessed knowledge we're only beginning to understand through advanced scientific investigation. What makes these discoveries particularly significant is the systematic pattern of how academic institutions handle evidence that challenges established historical narratives. The artifacts aren't dismissed as hoaxes or denied to exist. They're acknowledged, documented, analyzed, and often displayed in museums as curiosities, rather than revolutionary evidence. But their implications are consistently minimized, rather than thoroughly investigated. When physical artifacts demonstrate capabilities that don't fit approved timelines, the response isn't scientific curiosity, but institutional resistance. The artifacts are acknowledged to exist, photographed for documentation, and then quietly relegated to storage, where their implications can be safely contained. The pattern reveals uncomfortable truths about how knowledge is controlled and disseminated. When evidence contradicts established narratives, investigation is discouraged rather than encouraged. Funding disappears, academic papers face rejection, and researchers find their work blocked through systematic institutional resistance that prevents serious inquiry into anomalous discoveries. The message becomes unmistakable. Physical evidence that contradicts approved timelines faces systematic discouragement rather than open scientific inquiry. Some questions are apparently too dangerous to pursue because they might require fundamental revision of how we understand human development and technological progress. These impossible artifacts raise profound questions about the nature of human advancement that extend far beyond simple dating controversies or attribution disputes. Rather than steady progression from primitive to sophisticated, our species may have achieved remarkable technological heights multiple times throughout history, only to lose that knowledge through catastrophic events, cultural collapse, or deliberate suppression. The artifacts we've examined might represent surviving fragments from previous cycles of human achievement, physical proof that advanced knowledge was mastered, lost, and had to be painstakingly rediscovered over centuries or millennia. If this cyclical pattern characterizes human development, then our current technological civilization may not represent the first time our species has reached such capabilities. Consider the broader implications of what we've discovered today. The ancient battery wasn't just an isolated curiosity that happened to produce electrical current. It was part of a technological system that included electroplating techniques and possibly electric lighting that vanished so completely that subsequent civilizations had to rediscover electrical principles from scratch nearly 2 millennia later. The precision drilling in granite demonstrates manufacturing capabilities that required not just advanced tools, but sophisticated understanding of material science, cutting speeds, and feed rates. This knowledge didn't disappear gradually through neglect. It vanished so thoroughly that medieval craftsmen couldn't approach ancient Egyptian precision even when working with supposedly superior iron tools. The Antikythera mechanism reveals computational sophistication that wouldn't be matched until the Renaissance. Yet it was apparently common enough to be carried aboard merchant vessels. How many other complex devices corroded into unrecognizable fragments or were melted down for their bronze content? The loss suggests systematic destruction rather than gradual technological decline. The acoustic chambers demonstrate understanding of wave physics and harmonic resonance that modern engineers struggle to replicate. Creating these effects requires mathematical calculations and precise construction techniques that shouldn't have been available to ancient builders. Yet the chambers exist across multiple civilizations, suggesting widespread knowledge of advanced acoustic principles. The crystal artifacts show precision manufacturing that challenges contemporary capabilities even with diamond-cutting tools and computer-controlled machinery. Ancient craftsmen achieved optical quality surfaces and geometric perfection using techniques that remain mysterious to modern materials science. The sophistication indicates extensive research and development rather than accidental achievements. Roman concrete technology surpassed modern formulations in durability and environmental resistance while requiring less energy to produce. The chemistry involved complex understanding of volcanic ash properties, lime types, and mineral interactions that created self-reinforcing crystalline structures. This knowledge was so thoroughly lost that European builders couldn't match Roman quality for over a millennium. The South American aircraft models demonstrate aerodynamic principles that optimize flight characteristics through specific geometric relationships. Wind tunnel testing confirms their effectiveness as functional aircraft designs rather than stylized animal representations. Ancient civilizations may have possessed flight capabilities that were systematically eliminated from the historical record. The natural nuclear reactors reveal geological arrangements so optimized for controlled fission that they appear almost engineered. Whether these represent purely natural phenomena or evidence of ancient nuclear technology remains hotly debated among researchers who study the formations privately, but rarely discuss their implications publicly. What connects all these discoveries is their demonstration of knowledge that was subsequently lost so completely that rediscovery required centuries of scientific advancement. The pattern suggests something more systematic than gradual technological decline or cultural neglect. The thoroughness of knowledge elimination indicates deliberate suppression by forces capable of erasing entire technological traditions. The contemporary handling of these artifacts follows suspiciously similar patterns. When discoveries challenge established narratives, investigation faces institutional resistance rather than scientific enthusiasm. Funding becomes unavailable, publications get rejected, and researchers encounter systematic obstruction that prevents serious inquiry into evidence that might reveal uncomfortable truths about human capabilities. Modern institutions claim to value evidence-based understanding and scientific progress, yet their response to anomalous artifacts suggests otherwise. When physical evidence contradicts approved historical timelines, the evidence gets minimized rather than investigated. The message becomes clear that certain questions are too dangerous to pursue because they might reveal knowledge that powerful interests prefer to keep hidden. The systematic nature of this suppression raises disturbing possibilities about the forces that eliminated ancient knowledge and continue operating today. The same institutions responsible for preserving and disseminating historical understanding appear more interested in maintaining established narratives than exploring evidence that challenges their foundations. If these impossible objects represent genuine evidence of advanced ancient capabilities, they suggest human civilization operates in cycles rather than following linear progression. Our species may have reached extraordinary heights of achievement repeatedly throughout history, only to lose those advances through warfare, natural disasters, or systematic knowledge destruction. The implications extend to our current technological civilization and its assumed permanence. If advanced knowledge has been lost before, it can be lost again. The artifacts serve as warnings that technological progress isn't guaranteed to continue indefinitely, and that entire categories of knowledge can vanish if not properly preserved and protected. The refusal to seriously investigate these anomalies suggests that understanding our true history may be less important to certain institutions than maintaining control over approved narratives. The artifacts exist, their advanced properties can be measured and verified, but their implications remain carefully ignored by organizations supposedly dedicated to expanding human knowledge. Perhaps most troubling is what this pattern reveals about the nature of truth itself in academic and scientific institutions. When evidence contradicts established theories, the response should be investigation and potential revision of those theories. Instead, we observe systematic avoidance and institutional resistance that protects existing paradigms rather than pursuing uncomfortable truths. These 10 impossible artifacts force us to confront a disturbing reality about human history and the nature of technological progress. Each object represents concrete physical evidence that ancient civilizations achieved capabilities we're only beginning to understand. Yet this evidence faces systematic suppression rather than serious scientific investigation. The pattern reveals that knowledge isn't lost accidentally, but eliminated deliberately by forces that prefer maintaining established narratives over pursuing uncomfortable truths. If you found these discoveries as mind-bending as we did, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell, because we've only scratched the surface of evidence that challenges everything you thought you knew about our past. What other impossible technologies are hidden in plain sight, waiting to rewrite history?